Button. Three, three, two, one. We are live. Welcome, folks that are joining us today from This is an IT Support Group or IT MSP Entrepreneurs. I'm joined live today with Stephanie Hammond, who is a head nerd at Enable of Sales and Marketing. Stephanie, you and I have just been nerding out for a couple minutes on just business stuff in general and MSPs and all this crazy stuff. Could you give us a quick intro of who you are and what you're up to at Enable?
Absolutely. Thanks, Stetson, for having me on today. So my name is Stephanie Hammond. I'm a head nerd, part of the head nerd program here at Enable. The team is mostly all technical, dealing with our different products with backup, security, automation, our RMN products. But I was brought in a couple of years ago because they felt like they could use a kind of a business nerd, a sales and marketing nerd to kind of complement the group. And so basically my role is working with MSPs to really help them, grow and expand their business. So I help with program design, development, pricing, and then how do you go about selling and promoting your services out to your customers.
Yeah, fantastic. And there's a lot of topics there today. I think we'll have to dive into deeper later because I'm interested in things like pricing and marketing that I think folks will be interested in. But until then, for today, Stephanie, we're going to be talking about business strategies and authenticity within an MSP. So maybe we can start on, this is actually really murky question, but what kind of business strategies should MSPs be? And what kind of business strategies should MSPs be implementing in their business today? And I don't want to add on to that, but maybe we should define business strategies as well. Is that worth talking about?
Yeah, like the way I think about it is kind of how the economy is going, right? And it really kind of piggybacks on what our CEO, John Palioka, has been talking about at different Empower events and different broadcasts, podcasts he's been doing, all sorts of things is, obviously there's been some up and down in the economy. I don't know if we're still entirely out of the woods yet. There's always the, will we enter a recession? Won't we enter the recession? But either way, things are being felt in the economy. So when I think about business strategies, I think about, what should MSPs be focusing on to not necessarily make their business recession proof, because I don't think that's possible, but more recession resilient, so that as we kind of go through these ups and downs of the economy, MSPs have kind of implemented business strategies to, oh my God, what happened? Oh, you were there?
Hey, I still hear you. I still hear you.
Okay, good. All of a sudden I'm like, okay, whoa, holy, never happened.
Roll with it.
All right. So anyway, where I was going was when I think of business strategies is thinking of what can you do to help weather the storm, if you're going to have those ups and downs. So 3 that I've been talking about a lot, that John's been talking about a lot, our executive team's been talking about a lot is co-managed IT services. We've been doing a lot on that from an education perspective. I actually just finished writing the co-managed digital playbook for Enable that kind of talks about, how do you build, price, market, sell a co-managed set of services if this is something you've never done before and you want to get your first customer.
Can we back up on the definition of co-managed? I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So the definition of co-managed. So when you think about the target market for MSPs, right, there's really 2. We have our traditional managed services market. Those are small, medium-sized businesses. They don't have any internal IT, and they're generally about 100 employees or less. And then we have those mid and upper enterprise organizations, which are much larger, usually 100 employees and more, goes up from there. But there generally is an internal IT department already there. So when you have an internal IT department already there, you can't talk to them about managed services because that's a threatening term to them, because managed services by definition is outsourcing the IT to a third-party company. So co-managed is that approach where you would partner with an IT administrator, director, CTO, and work with their team to maybe plug any holes they may have. They may have holes in terms of their knowledge. They may have holes in terms of their technology. They may have holes in terms of their processes. So it's your MSP working with the IT director, administrator to see where do they need help, and you offer to help out with whatever that specific need may be, which is very different from traditional. Traditional, you want the whole pie. Managed services, you're just going after the piece of the pie.
Sure. This is more augmenting a team.
It is. It's yeah, like it's supplemental, augmentation. Like I've been with Enable for 20 years almost, and back in 2004 when I first joined, we've been talking about co-managed back then. We, in some of my program design playbooks, we had a program that we called supplemental, which was kind of that same idea. Now fast forward is now termed co-manage. I still don't like that term, but I haven't been able to come up with a funky marketing name for it yet.
Fair enough.
Because that's more of an industry term than it is a broader audience term, I think.
Yeah, perfect. And so you're mentioning co-managed as kind of one of the first of a few business strategies?
Yeah, because that's one. The other business strategy I've been talking a lot about is I've always hated the term managed services, even like 20 years ago when I started. And
sure.
Especially now, 20 years later, when I see it on websites, when I see it on flyers, I was just reviewing a flyer the other day and it had managed services on there. It's just such an old cachet term, and it doesn't mean anything to your target audience. So I've been talking and doing a lot with MSPs about, going specialized, doing something that makes yourself stand out, differentiate yourself from other MSPs in the space. So, and security is that easy one, going and promoting yourself as, a security specialist, like not MSSP. Like when I talk about this, I always want to be careful to say, not every MSP needs to be an MSSP, but just through your marketing, through your sales conversations, through your, on your website and your social, just making it that you have those areas of expertise, because it makes it more specialized than just saying generic managed services, which I don't think means anything. Or
sure.
As another strategy, again, there's riches and niches, right? So, if you are verticalized, let the world know that you deal with accounting firms and that you're the leading, IT provider for accounting firms in, North Carolina or something like that. Like something that really, when a business owner is looking for you and they start Googling, you have to think in their terms, and they're going to look for, I'm looking for a computer support company that can help my accounting firm so that you can show up. So that's another strategy that I've been talking about, because again, it will help you weather the storm and hopefully get more leads into the top of your funnel. And then the third one that I talk a lot about is account management and building up an account management motion within your MSP. Because if you're not getting the leads, then you can still reach your sales goals and your revenue goals if you have a really good process around your account management and leveraging the relationships that you've already created and fostered. So making sure that if you don't have an account management motion today, and maybe your sales and marketing lead gen efforts, maybe you're struggling a little bit, then, maybe take a look at your existing customers, seeing what you're doing from, I call them executive business reviews. I know there's QBRs, TBRs, SBRs, there's so many different acronyms for it, but I like the term executive business reviews, because you want to be speaking to executives at your customers' site, because it's a business owner to business owner conversation that you want to be having. So, what are you doing to have those regular EBR discussions with your clients to, see what they're working on, what projects are they doing, what are their initiatives, what are their goals, and can you insert yourself there to see if there's any place you can help, or any other services you can add on, any project work to get yourself more entrenched. So those are basically the three strategies that I spend a lot of time talking to MSPs about, that I think if you implement one, all three, it's really going to help, again, weather the storm, depending on where this economy takes us.
For sure. Yeah. And it's always kind of, scary for folks to nobody has a crystal ball to know
No.
how these like business cycles are going to go. But Stephanie, I'm guessing that these three you mentioned are probably kind of evergreen, no matter if
Yeah.
we're kind of in a boom or bust. Would that be right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Like at the end of the day, MSPs want to grow their business, right? And the traditional managed services market is only so large, right? So that's where the co-managed comes into play, because it allows you to kind of break through any growth or revenue plateaus that your MSP might be experiencing if you're focused solely just on the outsourced traditional managed services space. Account management, that's another way that if you are an MSP, maybe you're still selling break fix, maybe you're still selling in an a la carte manner instead of kind of a whole standardized packaged approach, because I talk a lot about a la carte being a bad word. You should be looking at creating standardized programs, and then you sell that program, one or two programs max, and that you sell those programs to your customers. So if you still have a la carte and you're starting to go to market with these standardized programs, there's going to be holes there in terms of coverage and in terms of a revenue and potential MRR growth that you can achieve from those customers. So putting an account management motion in place and going after and upgrading your break fix or upgrading your a la carte into at least a minimum viable program, there could be some good revenue opportunities there for you.
Yeah,
and then
fantastic.
security, I think doing anything, security, specialization, anything you can do to make yourself stand out and appear different than the MSP down the street is always going to be a good business strategy, because people will pay for specialization. People will pay to work with a company where you feel that they know you and they know your business. And again, not to hate on the term managed services, but if we can remove that from our web pages and remove that from our flyers,
let's hate it.
really talk about who do you serve, who do you support, what are you good at, how can you help their business? That is going to go a lot longer, or a lot further than you sending out a flyer and saying, hey, managed services on here, call us.
Yeah, man, sorry, I love that.
I get a little heated.
No, I think this is great. I think it's great to get heated and passionate about this, because I really resonate with that. What you just mentioned, Stephanie, is that in communicating with potential clients and doing lead gen, it's kind of strange to use these weird industry terms that customers aren't familiar with.
I know.
Maybe we could chat a little bit. So let's say you have an MSP that's maybe you're an owner of an MSP and you're not quite sure what to specialize in, or how to change up some of that messaging. What's a good way to kind of get started and see which path to take?
I always talk about doing a segmentation of your existing customer base if you're not sure, and it really involves kind of slicing and dicing and seeing who are you supporting today. And now, depending on how large your MSP is, I want MSPs to focus on, who are the customers that you like, that you like working with, meaning that they pay their bills on time. They don't argue with you or push back on your pricing whenever you bring a project their way or a recommendation. They generally do value that partnership. They value your expertise that you bring, because that's the whole value that you bring to them. Like, they recognize they don't have that kind of expertise, hence why they're working with an MSP. So they value that relationship. So first, looking at, who are your customers that you really like doing business with, you have a good relationship with, and then looking at, some characteristics, like how big are they? Are they the traditional? So they're less than 100 employees. There's no internal IT, or maybe you're starting to notice that the customers that you really like dealing with, maybe they're bigger, and maybe you are kind of supporting them in that supplemental, augmenting them in a couple of ways, is one way. Because depending on how that lines up, maybe you should be looking more going co-managed, and maybe going after a play and finding more co-managed clients. Or maybe you decide, I'm not comfortable with co-managed. I'm not comfortable with working with companies of that size. So I'm going to stay in traditional. And then if we're going to stay in traditional, really looking at what industries or what verticals are you supporting, and that you have good knowledge about. Because I think, again, going back to there's riches and niches, if there's one or two verticals where you have great relationships, great partnerships, and you really like supporting them, and you have good knowledge about that industry, the business challenges, the trends that you're seeing, and you have good customers that could help you expand further, then that's where I would probably go next, is see if you can dive deeper into those particular industries or verticals.
Yeah, love it. There's a lot to take in there.
Sorry, I talk a lot.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think folks are really going to enjoy that. I think TLDR I'm taking away is kind of like double down on what works, you know.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, you talk too much, Stephanie. That was a very polite way of saying that.
No, not at all. I love that. And I know we're going to talk a little bit later about authenticity, but I feel like this is a good kind of segue, because we're talking about all these things about like vision and you know, how we communicate with clients. Can we talk a little bit about that very vague and broad term, authenticity?
Yeah. I was really kind of thinking about that, because there's really a couple of ways that it can be defined. And so I kind of looked at it from two different ways. I looked at it from, you know, the MSP standpoint. And this really comes to, you know, thinking about who you are as an MSP, you know, what's your vision, what's your mission. I know a lot of MSPs, a lot of businesses think that's kind of fluffy, but it's not. Like, it when you can do it well and you can
let's back up. I think there's a lot of, sorry to interrupt, I think there's a lot of perhaps business MSP owners that are hearing this like, oh yeah, we need a vision. That, I don't know, that seems like way more work. We have to do the work. We have clients coming in. Why does vision, why does these things even matter?
Because I think if you want to grow, it's going to be important, because prospects want to know what, like, especially nowadays, what a company's core values are. They want to know what you stand for and what you perceive to be important, and what kind of culture that you breed within your organization with your MSPs. And so you can get that defined by taking the time to think about, okay, well, where do I want to take my MSP, or what does my MSP stand for, or what's important to us? And this is where it may not all have to come from the business owner's head if you've never done this before. Like, you know, work with your team, because I'm sure your team, maybe they've never had this conversation before, but I'm sure they can articulate, you know, what is meaningful to them about working for your MSP. Because what's meaningful to them, and if they enjoy working for your MSP, that's going to translate into, you know, over when you're trying to market and sell to customers. You know, prospects pick up on stuff like that. So, you know, yes, vision, mission, again, airy-fairy sometimes, but I think it is really important, especially if you want to grow and be intentional in your growth, which kind of leads to the second side of authenticity that I was kind of thinking about, is really thinking about the type of organization you want to work with, the type of businesses that you want to work with. I talk a lot in my boot camps about the ICP, you know, your ideal client profile. You know, again, going back to that customer segmentation exercise, looking at who do you really like doing business with that are a great group of customers, and try and replicate that and look for more businesses that are just like them. And then when you build your programs and you start marketing and selling your programs, staying true to those programs and staying true to that target audience that you really want to go after, because that is how you're going to kind of grow your business and grow your book of business in a, I don't want to say like in a good way, like in a beneficial way, instead of building a book of business of randoms, because randoms isn't going to help you grow.
Yeah, kind of scattershot.
Yeah, or like picking up every nickel you find. Like I'm really against picking up every nickel you find. Like
no is the best word in the world.
What's that?
No is the best word in the world.
Yeah, exactly. It just thinking about it and saying, does this align? And it all is tied together. Like, does this align to my ideal client profile? Does this align to the type of customers that we want to deal with? Does this align to how we want to grow as an organization? And if this prospect, you know, ticks the boxes, you know, then I would proceed. But if they're, you know, coming to you and their first question to you is, you know, what's the best price you can give me? Please walk away. That's not, and I know it's easy for me to say that, and I know I'm being a little glib about it, but it is true. Like, I really want to encourage MSPs to really think about who they want. I pick up every penny I find.
I only go for heads up. If they're tails, I
well,
only
we
go
don't even
heads
have
up.
pennies in Canada anymore. So,
Oh
and I think
yeah,
they're phasing out nickels. I don't. Yeah, we don't see change on the ground much anymore in Canada.
love it.
But anyways, it just really kind of thinking about, what your services are, and not deviating from that, which is kind of where I was going with my other point with the authenticity standpoint is, if you're decided that, we are going to say that we specialized in security services for the accounting industry, then stick to that. And in my boot camps, when I talk about program development, I talk about building kind of a minimum viable program. There could be an advanced program and a comprehensive security program, but if you're still dealing with a lot of break fix, or you're still dealing with a la carte, you're never going to get a break fix customer all the way into a high-end security. They're never going to make that leap. But if you can get them into kind of a minimum viable program that has a standard set of security services, backup, maybe you include some support, stick to that. And if you have customers that are saying, no, that's too much, I can't afford that, can you strip some services out? Then that's where I would say, maybe we're not a good fit, Mr. Customer. Maybe I can recommend you for someone else, because there's so much benefits that can come from standardization for the customer, for you. You can get into the whole risk mitigation that I talk about a lot in my boot camps, that if you start kind of pulling out some of your security services from that program you designed, you're opening up holes. And you're opening up ways for the bad guys to get in. And so I think there's a real education that MSPs have to do to prospects and say, no, I've designed my programs this way to protect you and to protect me, because a lot of it is protecting yourself now and your livelihood and your employees. And if you have a customer that's not willing to pay that, you're basically allowing them to possibly take down your business. And I don't think any customer is worth that risk.
Agreed. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there.
Again, soapboxy. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. There's a lot there. We got a comment. Is it worth every loony and toonie?
Oh, is that another Canadian on the
line? It must be. It very well must be.
Yes.
But
do you know what he means by that, Stetson?
I have no idea. I've heard the word loony. Is that the? So, can you inform us?
That is hilarious. Yeah. So in Canada, we don't have a dollar bill anymore. Many years ago, we replaced it with the dollar coin, and they put a loonie, which is one of our national birds, on the coin. And so it affectionately became called the loonie. And so that's what we called it, and it has different things on it now, but people still call it the loonie. And then a few years later, they discontinued the $2 bill, and they put a polar bear on it.
That's rad. I love that.
We called that the toonie. So now we have the loonie and the toonie, and I don't know what's going to happen when they discontinue the $5 bill. I cannot see us continuing that, but this is Canada. We're a little crazy sometimes. So
pure chaos. Yeah, I think the U.S. tried the dollar coin thing, and it never really caught on. But
yeah,
cool. Good little segue.
Yeah, little Canadian trivia there.
Yeah. Somebody said,
my best buddies from Moncton.
Friends from Moncton.
Nice.
Back to this authenticity discussion, Stephanie. I think you did a great job kind of explaining why that's important for MSPs or any business owner. Mm-hmm. But as you were talking about this, I was kind of thinking to some of those generic web pages we've all seen where it says our mission, our values, and sometimes it just comes off as a little inauthentic. And I'd like to get your take on that, but I think I'll have one more add to that is that you mentioned this idea of asking employees what they think of the business. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's really interesting. Perhaps, I think you've seen sites like this before that do that authentic messaging well, but they have just, videos and interviews of their employees.
They make it personal.
Chatting about culture, values, all those sorts of things. I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but I'm curious, do you have any other really concrete examples of how MSPs can show authenticity in some of these online communications?
Yeah, a few others like peer reviews, because again, prospects know we're trying to sell to them, and they're not necessarily going to believe what we tell them. So doing what you can to collect peer reviews, reviews, testimonials, quotes, references from your customers is also what you can use to really help bring that personality into your website, to help create that level of authenticity beyond just kind of this vague sentence we may have splashed on our website or in our flyers, because nowadays, like I always joke that I said I can't buy one thing off of Amazon without looking at 50 reviews, right? Like we're all like that. We want to hear what other people are saying about a product we're evaluating or a business we might start engaging with. And I do not see MSPs doing a great job with going to their existing customer base and asking them for reviews or testimonials. And it's sad because MSPs, you guys develop the strongest relationships, I think, with any business and a customer. Like, you know, you've been in business for 15, 20, 30, 40 years. You have solid relationships. You would never know it when you look at, you know, your website or you look at what you put out online. And nowadays, if someone can't find you online or can't find nice things being said about you online, it's like your business doesn't exist anymore. So doing what you can to, and maybe you just make this a campaign for your MSP, going out, engaging with your customers, doing your EBRs, you know, ask them, you know, I'm trying to build my book of business. I'm trying to revamp my website, my marketing material. You know, would you mind going to Google and putting a review there that I can then, you know, transfer over? Or if you have some really good customers and you know there's experience there where you've had a great impact on their business, where you've improved it, then, you know, maybe you hire a writer to create some case studies, because case studies are also excellent. Again, excellent items that you can create to, again, help businesses feel good about wanting to do business with you, type of thing. And again, it kind of shows what kind of organization you are, which kind of ties back to the authenticity type of thing. Because you're putting some beat behind the words on the page.
Yeah, that value of social proof is so strong. Even today, as you said, that if you Google something like a person, business, and you see nothing or even bad reviews, it's just kind of nothing's a red flag today, as you said.
Yeah.
So I really love that. I do want to take a moment to focus on this comment from Joshua McDaniel, who says, I have a small startup MSP and we have a focus on cyber audits for small to medium-sized businesses. Our relationships with clients are great, they're solid, but it's so hard to onboard new clients. How do we prove ourselves? Any advice for Joshua?
Yeah, it is just going back to what I just said. Like, if you have some really good, solid relationships, we need those customers to say nice things about you. Because again, today, because managed services has been around for 20 some odd years, right? You guys have done such a fabulous job of educating the market and educating business owners on why they need to work with an MSP. So nowadays, everybody has pretty much an MSP that they're working with, unless they are a brand new company. And so the challenge isn't, you know, how do I go and get new customers? The challenge is, how do I steal customers from another MSP? How do I make myself appear different, better? How do I differentiate myself from who they're using today? And I love the focus on the cyber audits, because I talk about this in one of my sales process boot camps, that part of the sales process should be doing a cyber assessment, because that's where you're going to find the deficiencies, the gaps, hopefully, between what you can provide and what their existing MSP isn't doing. And then you can kind of weaponize that and use it and say, look, it looks like your MSP isn't taking care of, you know, these 5 items. And so that helps you kind of prove your worth. It helps demonstrate why you are more expensive, probably, than who they're using today. And you can kind of really highlight the risk that they're involved with if we don't take care of these. So the cyber audits really help create that level of urgency as well within your sales process. But it is, you're dealing with a specialized service directed to specialized customers. So point one would be, what types of businesses are you going after? If you're saying you're having a hard time onboarding new clients, maybe kind of taking a step back and look at the industries that you might be targeting. Maybe we're targeting the wrong industries there, or the wrong type of businesses. But if that's all fine, then people need to hear what other people are saying about you. They need to clear it in their heart versus their head. They need to have those warm and fuzzies, and if you can leverage your other customers to say, yes, XYZ MSP has done a great job. We were experiencing this problem. This is how you helped us. Because I will switch MSP providers if you can tell me and demonstrate to me how you have helped other businesses, whether you've helped them with their revenue, control their cost, improve their productivity, made them more efficient. Like, those are the key words that matter to business owners. And so it kind of goes back to looking at your marketing material. Are you using technical language that maybe you understand because you're technical, but think about your audience, or using more business acumen that business owners will likely understand?
Yeah, perfect. I really love hearing about all those different types of assets I think business owners can kind of build up for social proof. So thinking of little snippets on your website or case studies. Stephanie, I'm sure you guys have some content going deeper into those. And so if you have that, send it to me, and we'll be sure to add it to our notes for this. But I'll add for Joshua, one thing I found helpful is I had a client actually that I had really great communication with just over email, where they sent me a compliment, and I wanted that testimonial for my site, and I wanted to make it really easy for a customer. So I just said, hey, I'm working on this project. Can I use this quote from you? Here's the quote. Give me a thumbs up or down. And so I think there's maybe a little bit of a psychological hack there. I'm curious, maybe Stephanie, you have some other tactics for, maybe folks don't want to give customers like this homework of, oh, can you give me a review? And then maybe they feel like, oh, they have to write an essay.
Like asking them to write something. Yeah, that's a lot. And so that's why I like tagging it on to the end of an executive business review that you're having with them, right? Like, you're talking about their business, you're talking about, where they're, what their goals are, what they're looking to achieve. You're looking at, if you did a cyber audit, there's a risk register there. So you're kind of looking at the risk register or their tech roadmap to see, okay, well, we're working on this one. Okay, this one's next in line. So let's talk about this. So you're having really good strategy discussions. At the end, when you're wrapping it up and saying, okay, well, let's set our next one for 4 months out, 6 months out, whatever your cadence is. This is where I think it helps to say, you know what, this is where I'm trying to build my business. Either could you write, or a lot of times, and I've done this with partners when I said, oh, can I get you to, can I write something? Will you approve it and send it back to me?
Stamp this, please.
Yeah, stamp it, please. Yep. If a really good customer, they will do that. I've had really good partners say, yeah, no problem. That looks great stuff. I agree with it all. I approve it. Use it. Put my name on it. So that may be another way. And then that's why I really like case studies, hire a writer, because partners or customers feel special if they're being chosen for a case study, right? So all they have to do is talk. It's easy to talk if someone else is going to do the writing. So yeah, and I like yours, like thumbs up, thumbs down if I could use this. So yeah, I do that.
I added Joshua's reply here. He says, reviews are really important. Do you think it's worth offering a small discount for public testimonials? And how should I approach them without pounding? Not sure if they mean like knocking on the door or what.
I never like discounting because your services that you're providing are so valuable. And especially if you are going down that security route, but maybe a small token. Again, I think it depends on where you are, but a bottle of wine, or if that they're a bourbon drinker or something. I'd rather do kind of the small token or the small gift as opposed to taking money off their bill, because MSPs should always be increasing their bills, increasing their rates for customers. And I think if you kind of get customers in the habit of, oh, how can I get a discount? I think it's kind of sending the wrong message. But
yeah, I'm kind of with you. There's that weird psychological thing of thinking of the discount. Maybe we could get a little more concrete with it. Let's say you had a client, you wanted a review, and you're thinking of sending them a bottle of whatever, I'm kind of thinking of what would the communication would look like. Is it like, hey, can you give us a review in exchange for,
No,
or
no, no, no.
more?
I
I think
wouldn't.
yeah. Can I give
I
you my
think
take? Can I give you my
for
take?
yeah, so I think for reviews, going back to the authenticity standpoint, you want a customer to genuinely want to give you a review. And ideally, you're only asking your best customers that you know would give you a review, right? So I think if we can just go in the spirit of goodwill, and then, if they do that, then as a surprise, send them, something
After
in
the
the
fact.
mail or something delivered or something, because it makes it a little bit
Yeah.
more special to say that I thank you. Like, you didn't ask for anything, I wasn't offering anything, but you gave it, and this really helped. And here's a small token, thank you for being a great customer and for helping me out. So I would send it afterwards and not really formalize that arrangement.
Awesome. Yeah, make it less bribe like. I think that's a good
Yeah.
tactic. Because
Yeah.
initially it's yeah, this is such a small like thing to think about. But yeah, I think a lot of folks would probably struggle. It's me
Now
especially. I'm like, all right, when do
now as I was, kind of thinking, where I would maybe formalize a little bit more is referral programs.
yeah.
Review is one thing, but if you're looking to solicit referrals to say, hey, I enjoy working with you. Do you have any other, accounting firms or any other, professional services industries, or again, whatever your target is, any acquaintances where you think I could help them out? I would appreciate an introduction.
Right.
Or
And then perhaps paying a finder's fee or amount of
yeah,
contracts.
because I
Is
think
that a good way
customers
to
are
handle it?
used to that. I think we're all used to being bribed if we can if we can give some
Sure.
names, type of thing. You can say, it's yeah, something like that. But again, I don't like the term discount. I don't like the term complimentary. Again, kind of going back to that psychological thing. But I think that's where you could offer, a $500 discount off of your month for every referral that closes and sticks with us for 3 months or something like that. You can make that formalized and put some terms and conditions around that.
Yeah, fantastic. Cool. I think we need to pick this topic back up later because I love it, but I do want to take not a backtrack, but a little bit of a segue back to these business strategies we were talking about, Stephanie. We mentioned three. I don't know if I'll be able to have them offhand. Maybe you do.
Co-managed, EBRs, security.
Fantastic. Co-managed, EBRs, and security. How can a MSP owner or somebody in charge of this stuff think about who's doing this work and implementing this process, and when should you perhaps hire for somebody to handle these processes?
Yeah, because it's a specialized role, because you kind of need somebody that has been in sales, that is used to quotas, targets, that level of accountability. If anybody's been in sales, I know I've been in sales with Enable for 10 years or so, before I moved into this role. You need to have someone that's good at scanning the market, looking at those opportunities, and seeing where there could be additional revenue streams that could be generated. But then you also want someone that is also client focused. So you kind of need the hunter and the farmer kind of in one person, I think, because when you look at co-managed, that's sales. When you look at security, that's sales. But when you look at account management, that's customer success. But you want your customer success motion to also be looking for sales, because the selling doesn't stop once the contract is signed. So you kind of need that hybrid role. So like if you look online, there's a lot of different roles right now for business strategists, director of business. But yeah, someone that has that sales, has that growth, but also has that customer mindset as well, for that type of role.
So let's say we hire for this type of thing. What's a good way for folks to kind of tell that their strategies are working? Is it just as simple as like revenue go up, or?
Well, there's a couple of different KPIs I think that you can track. I know most MSPs, they track their MRR. So whether they're tracking it quarter over quarter, or they're tracking it year over year or month over month. So if that's just your MRR for your traditional managed services, then start tracking it if you decide to go co-managed. So kind of splitting it out. Now you're tracking your MRR for your traditional, but you're tracking your MRR for your co-managed, and kind of seeing how that's growing over time. Same with account management, like carving out the expansion MRR versus the new logo MRR, so you can see how well is your account management motion doing at uncovering new sales opportunities and growing that side of the business. And I love account management because I spent the better part of 16 years being in account management, but also I was kind of that hybrid role. I managed accounts, but I also had sales quotas on my head. So it was that delicate balance of providing good customer support, but also being able to identify sales opportunities so I can meet my targets month over month. But, so I think tracking MRR growth, but kind of splitting them out, so you kind of have a couple of different buckets is one, so that you can see how is someone demonstrated how they've grown especially from a customer success motion. Trying to think of some other ones that I had talked about in previous, because I always talk about KPIs in all my boot camps, and it's usually kind of one of the last slides in each of my boot camps. KPIs.
Sure. Yeah. So. Yeah. It's I think kind of a dark art, but yeah, it sounds like if folks are able to maybe have some solid KPIs they can actually attribute to the change they made. That's kind of always how I think about it.
Yeah, because you can't measure, or what is that word? You can't track what you can't measure, and you can't improve what you can't track, right?
Yes,
whatever that.
Yeah. John Dewar, I think the reason we all have these metrics today and sit through meetings.
Yeah. Now, can you get into the nitty gritty in terms of KPIs? Absolutely. We all know those managers that are measuring every little minutia. But I think obviously the big one is MRR growth, and seeing where your MRR is coming from, looking at what percentage of going back to customer segmentation, what percentage of your customers are still in break fix, if you are still offering break fix, how many are still in a la carte? And one metric would be, how do we get those customers out of those reactive programs and into a standard program? So that could be another way that you can track how well you're doing. Like if we started with 50 break fix customers still, and by the end of the year we reduce that to 35 or 30, that I would say that would be a success, because you've taken non-recurring revenue and you've generated recurring revenue. So that could be another easy metric that you can track.
Yeah, fantastic. I think we that'll be another topic we should earmark and go a little deeper on. But Stephanie, this has been absolutely fantastic. I love being a business nerd and kind of digging into some of these areas that MSPs are having struggles with or aren't.
It's a good
kind
role.
of sure. Yeah. Is there anything
I'm sad that MSPs are still struggling, but again, not sad because I wouldn't have a job.
Yes. Yeah, gotta stay valuable.
Don't get too good at it, or else I may not have a job in the future. Because I'm trying to make it to 30 with Enable, so I'm 20 in almost. I'm trying to make it to 30. So
okay, let's go. Fantastic to hear. So if folks have questions about some of these business processes and things that might be new to them, Stephanie, where's a good place they can reach you or learn more?
I'm on LinkedIn is probably the best way to get a hold of me. I'm not sure if you can throw that in somewhere, or if you just Google Stephanie Hammond.
Absolutely.
It's with an F, Stefanie. I'm on LinkedIn, or stephanie.hammond@n-able.com is my email. So those are probably the two easiest ways. And then, because on my LinkedIn, because I also deliver boot camps and office hours, and they're open to anybody. Like, you don't have to be an Enable partner to attend any of our head nerd boot camps or attend our office hours. I'm actually holding office hours tomorrow, and it's your ability just to kind of ask any questions that you may have around your programs, your pricing, your sales and marketing strategies. And again, they're open to anybody, because we're all about the industry, right? Because Enable only grows as a vendor if the industry is healthy and growing as well. So that's kind of the mandate that's always been part of Enable.
Yeah, fantastic. And I threw in some links to your LinkedIn, the Enable. I have a real issue with words. The Enable blog, and then as well the office hours, which is happening tomorrow, August 15th. Looks like 11 a.m. Eastern. That sounds like a super great opportunity for MSPs to get some kind of really targeted advice. So Stephanie, we can't thank you enough for coming on today. We'll have some notes and a link to a recording if anybody missed out. But yeah, look forward. We'll be doing more sessions in the future with Enable.
Good to hear.
And helping MSPs and IT professionals.
Wonderful.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Stetson. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good. Have a good afternoon.